Yikes, isn't this the worst time to be playing this game? We have a crap ton of games that just came out, and some are just close to release. The summer vacation is making my job a living hell, and damn this heat! It's getting close to 100 degrees, and it's getting very uncomfortable to get any work done. And Lord knows I'm getting way behind on my webcomic project too. That's all bad enough, but with all of that, I have to basically force myself to play this game, and while that wouldn't be a problem for most of these games, if you don't know about the series, this is considered the black sheep of the franchise, and not many people care about it. This is my first time playing this game, and I was expecting myself to not have a great time. Though there is one thing to talk about before we get to the game itself. If you live outside of Japan and you don't know much about the series, the first Final Fantasy was released in the West alongside Japan. But when Final Fantasy 2 and 3 released in Japan, they were never released for North America. So when we got Final Fantasy 4 in the West, they renamed that game Final Fantasy 2, because localizing the others would be a waste of time, I don't know. And we didn't get Final Fantasy 5 in the West at first, and instead got Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, because apparently Americans and Europeans are idiots. And North America got Final Fantasy 6 in the form of Final Fantasy 3. So Japan got 6 games, America gets 4, and Europeans only get Mystic Quest until Final Fantasy 7 made its rounds. So yeah, Squaresoft Japan didn't exactly think highly of the West. Which is probably why the only games we got after the first game are games that are easy or simplified so our Western minds can understand the complicated intricacies of role-playing games. Okay, I'm sure they weren't that antagonizing, but I guess it doesn't really matter anyway. Let's get this over with. Do you mind if I talk about the gameplay first? I usually go for the story as per usual, but I have a good reason for leaving it at the end. Well, actually, I'll start with the beginning of the game, since it does connect to the gameplay to a degree. So you're in control of the 4 warriors, Varian, Maria, Guy, yes that's his default name, and Leon. They're being chased by the Imperial Black Knights and get their asses handed to them. Queen Hilda and their servant Mindu find and take you to their rebel base. Why am I getting Star Wars vibes out of this? Anyway, you, Varian, find Maria and Guy safe and sound, but cannot find Leon anywhere. And from there, you basically take jobs from the Queen after some initial hesitation from her, and you get to recruit certain party members every now and again, starting with Mindu, the White Wizard. There are a couple of things you can do in the overworld, or more so with NPCs. If you get this prompt, you can do one of 3 things. You can memorize a highlighted password which help you progress through the story, ask the person any password that you memorized, or you can show them an item. This system kinda makes progression a little cryptic. One of the many reasons I believe this game falls in the guide game category. Yeah, the first game can kinda be considered a guide game, but that's mostly for story-specific items and a couple of dungeons. Final Fantasy 2 is much more confusing compared to the original. Along with the passwords, the dungeons aren't exactly the most fun to go through alone. On one hand, they're the most straightforward dungeons I've ever seen, and not only are you going to run into Basil's quickly thanks to the return of the run button, which the original Final Fantasy 2 actually had the ability to run in dungeons, so you have that by default here. The several dead ends will contain treasure chests that will occasionally house monsters to defeat.
Or the trapdoors that force you into random fights is such a dick move.
Sometimes they aren't too bad, but when you get the unkillable turtles that can't be defeated without some kind of magic, and in one of the dungeons, the Dreadnought, you have a chest containing a Hilgaigus, which is practically invincible without the Ancient Sword and strong magic. Or you can just dual wield to increase the accuracy, but we'll get to that in a moment. This is kind of a dick move if you ask me. Not only would you not be able to know about these tough fights without a guide, but if you're unprepared, you are almost guaranteed to die. At first I thought poison was changed to a temporary element, which kinda threw me off, so I didn't buy a lot of antidotes and didn't bother with Asuna and Basuna spells at first. But then I saw another poison element that was permanent, and I had to ask what the frickin' purpose was having 2 poison elements. That just makes no sense to me, especially since the temporary poison element can leave before you take any of the poison damage. Darkness was another permanent ailment I suffered a lot of, but I didn't find it much of a hindrance. In fact, it felt like it helped my party members more than being healthy. That might just be luck, but I kinda found it funny. But you might be saying, okay, the enemies are giving you a tough time, why not just do some grinding? Yes, but there's a small issue with that. Another reason why this game lacks the praise is how they changed the stat increases. There's no level up system this go around, and upgrading your separate stats requires some absolutely dumb requirements, albeit a little simple. Some of which, by the way, makes you rely on pure luck and random timing. If you want to increase your magic stat or the new MP stat, you'll need to waste your magic in battle. To increase your spirit or intelligence, you need to frequently use white and black magic respectively. And to increase strength, you need to keep attacking with your weapons. Now all that sounds simple, right? Now, what if I told you that in order to increase your HP and endurance, you need to actively get hit? Doesn't sound too bad in theory until you realize getting an enemy to hit one of your party members happens at random. So if one member is running behind on HP, you either have to pray to God that that enemy hits them, or you can have one of your party members hit them instead. I feel like they implemented this just as a design oversight, and it works for the beginning until you get stronger weapons or increase your strength or intelligence, in which case you'll be looking at a one-hit kill. Invasion will go up when you successfully invade an attack, which also has a randomized chance of occurring. And the same can be said with agility, which is just purely random altogether since it involves invasion. And magic defense is similar, only you need to get hit with offensive magic. On top of that, your weapon skills can also be increased, simply by using them often as well as landing the hits. But again, if your character is not familiar with the weapon, you'll be missing plenty of hits and will not be able to get those skills upgraded for future use. This system is just beyond broken. Not only does increasing HP, endurance, evasion, and agility feel completely random, but increasing stats like spirit, intelligence, and especially strength is freaking tedious with the chances of landing hits not always being guaranteed. With the broken stat system, the hard-as-nails fights, and annoyingly placed encounters in dungeons, it makes Final Fantasy II feel like a disaster to play. Now, the gameplay may be broken, but the story. The short explanation would be the three heroes taking on the Empire and meeting several people along the way. I could tell you about the locales to go through, but I can't remember many off the top of my head. And the dungeons, as I said, are very narrow and straightforward, making them feel samey. Some of the dungeons have small differences in each one of them, like with one of your temporary members, Joseph, finds a secret passage in a super cryptic place near a crystal. The Icy Cave also has these beavers that tell you where a secret passage is. Okay, really thinking about it, the secrets aren't really all that special. The other place I remember well is the Dreadnought, since that is a recurring area in the beginning, and also the place I stopped playing. Let me start by saying, I played this on the PlayStation 3 originally, like I did with the first game. However, if you ever do want to play the Origins version, do not play it on the PlayStation 3, because the game will straight up crash in certain areas. At first it didn't bother me, since there were ways around it. But this part, which is a story cutscene, did crash when this boulder sprite appeared. So in that instance, it was a dead game. So in order to continue with this save, I had to buy a memory card adapter, which wasn't a cheap investment. And I also invested in this PS2 HDMI converter, which made the PS2 output look pretty clean. Which kind of makes the backwards compatible PS3 a waste of money, but whatever. But I still didn't get too far after that since the fat PS2 didn't read the disc, and the Slim had a hard time reading the PS2 data. So I had to use the fat PS2 to move the data to my PS1 memory card and play it on my Slim. But both of these bastards still have very unstable power adapters, and after the Slim shorting out a couple of times during playtime and me dying in the Dreadnought, I couldn't do it anymore. I spent so much time trying to get this game to run properly, but it just felt like a waste of time to me. I could have gone with the PS1, but I just wasn't going to bother. I'm burnt out from this game. I do know about some things afterwards, like Leon being a Black Knight, one of the partners you find is called Layla, and monsters like Tiamat return and such, but that's not enough for me to go on. I feel like I've seen enough of this game to give a full opinion, and that opinion is... it sucks. Easily my most disliked game in the franchise, outside of Mystic Quest. That might be an anticlimactic way to end, but seriously, I don't care. I'm tired of trying to get it running without any hassle, and I seriously want to play something else. Now, there are a few things that I did skip out on, like this is the first game to introduce the Chocobo, the Phoenix Downs, the High Potions, pretty much a lot of stuff the original didn't really have. And this kind of game does continue with the Saga series, which actually did start off as Final Fantasy Legends originally. Funnily enough, Final Fantasy Legends 2 was the first game I actually played in the Final Fantasy series, technically. And I think there was a reason why I didn't get past 10 minutes of that game, but yeah, this game's not good. And I highly doubt I'll ever go to the Saga series or anything like that. And I'm really glad that Final Fantasy 3, if I can find it, is a return to form for the series. In fact, from what I heard, it's actually too much of a return to form. But we'll see then. For now, though, before I get to Final Fantasy 3, there is one game that I really want to talk about. And considering these are RPGs after all, I think it's a good thing that I would be doing a game that's probably a little shorter just to ease up on the waiting a bit. So until then, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And please don't play Final Fantasy 2.